can start off with the session. So first of all, I welcome you all. So I am sure most of you, time management has been a hurdle. So like time management is very important for our careers, and it's one of the key factors to success in any field you go. So how to prioritize your tasks, how to limit your distractions, how to manage the deadlines, and many more such questions bother a student's mind. So let's begin our quest to answer these questions with Dr. Anway Mukhopadhyay sir, who is a professor at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tanaya. So I welcome all of you to this session. Let it be an informal session because we are meeting outside the typical classroom kind of framework, and let's utilize this time to talk about something. Which I want to discuss as someone from above. That I just bestow some piece of wisdom on you. It won't be like that. I will be discussing the problems, possible solutions, and the ways of dealing with the issues that all of us come up with. It's not just the students but also teachers. All of us find certain issues related to time management very important, crucial, and also intriguing. So I would like to discuss these things as a kind of co-journeyer, a co-thinker, or rather a co-experiencer, rather than as someone who would sagaciously talk about these things from above. So with that, I would like to share this PPT and then talk about it. But of course, the PPT won't be the sole thing. I will talk about a lot of other things as well. Now, Tanaya, I can go to window 4 and this one. Yeah. So I think this is visible now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's visible, right? So first, let's begin with this issue, time management in times of crisis. Now, the reason why I include this term crisis here is that we are all going through a time of crisis. We know that. And, we can't downplay the crisis by just talking about the new normal, because the new normal is profoundly abnormal for all of us. And deep down, all of us are desirous of the old normal. We all know that, right? So time management in times of crisis, and this is something which is more important now than probably in normal times, quote unquote normal times. So the first thing is the issue of our dealings with the virtual world. Now earlier in erstwhile normal times, we often used to have the virtual world as a source of fun, right? So it was largely a source of entertainment. For instance, we would go to Facebook, we would go to many other kinds of social media or other things, and it would become a source of enjoyment for us as well. But with the onset of the pandemic, the virtual world became a kind of prison for all of us, right? So it was no more a source of entertainment or a source of, secondary materials that are important for any kind of study, but rather it became the primary medium for pedagogic activities, imparting education, receiving education. So the entire teaching learning process became sort of confined to the virtual world. So in this perspective, from this perspective, we need to look at the virtual world in a new way, in a way which was not so important in earlier times, but it has become quite important during the pandemic, and it's going to remain important. So first thing is the importance of having a break from the virtual world, right? Now, you may say, why are you beginning with a break? Why don't you talk about work first and then move over to leisure? But that's precisely the reason why I would like to talk about, leisure or break first, and then I will move over to the issue of work. Now, see, when we remain confined to the virtual world, a lot of things are outside our purview, right? For instance, we engage with each other in the virtual world in such a way that we all experience a split in our selfhoods, right? So, for instance, I am now talking to all of you. I am seated on my chair in my room on this campus. But I know very well that there is a kind of split between this I, this embodied I, who is, sitting on his chair, and the I who is speaking through this virtual medium, who is speaking in this virtual world. So there is some kind of a split between my virtual self and my real embodied self. Now, this is a split which all of us won't, experience directly, or all of us won't experience consciously probably, but deep down, subconsciously, we are intuitively aware of this split. And that is the precise reason why, this online pedagogy has become problematic for many of us. Now, that is why I would say that engaging with living entities outside the virtual world is very important. For instance, you can think about animals. If you have pet animals, you can spend some time with them. You can spend some time with trees. You can spend some time with, with your friends outside the virtual world. You can spend some time with your teacher, if possible, outside the virtual world. You can spend some time with the common people out on the streets. Again, outside the virtual world. That is important because that will refresh your mind when you are burdened with online education. And then engaging with others. Now, others can be your parents, can be your family members, can be your friends, anybody. But I would say that when you wish to engage with the others, try to look at the people who are quite different from you. For instance, who are not IITians, who are absolutely, common people. I mean, who have nothing to do with the educational sector. Because we need to understand that outside the educational sector also, there is a larger universe. And we need to connect with them, right? Because we are part of that larger society as well. No matter whichever campus we may, inhabit, no matter whichever educational sector we may work in, we are also part of this larger universe. So connecting and remaining connected with that larger universe is very important for not just your psychological health, but also for the proper existential orientation of a student. Then I come to this issue, taking offline breaks. Now, this is very interesting because when we think about breaks or say, leisure time. Now, as I said earlier, leisure time would include a lot of virtual activities, right? For instance, you would go to Facebook, you would go to some other social media, you would do something, you would engage in video games probably, you would do some other kind of thing which would be a source of entertainment in the virtual world. But nowadays, we need to rethink this virtual break, right? So I would suggest that rather than just having virtual break, I'm not saying that, you shouldn't go to Facebook, or that, you should not have anything to do with the virtual world as far as your leisure time is concerned. That should be there. But the point is that the time span should be reduced, because that will keep your eyes healthy, that will keep your psychomotor system healthy, that will lessen the time of the duration of your exposure to the screen. It might be a computer screen, it might be a smartphone screen, whatever. But we need to reduce the time, the duration of your exposure to the screen. So it's also important to take offline breaks where you learn to temporarily, bid adieu to the virtual world. Okay, for 30 minutes, I am not going to have anything to do with the virtual world, right? So my classes have ended. I have, spent 10 minutes on Facebook. Now I am going to do something outside the virtual world. So I may go for gardening, I may go for a walk, I may do something else. Now, if you are on the campus, you have, a nice possibility of interacting with your friends on the campus or in your halls themselves. So that will become a source of non-virtual entertainment. And that's very important, especially in the context of today's education system, where we are, all burdened with the online thing, online education. Then, so this is one thing. Then it's also important to learn to own your time. Don't let the internet steal your time. I have no control over my activities on the internet, right? That is something which you should try to avoid. try to avoid, that habit of letting the internet control you. Most often, this is what happens. And, this is not just something which happens to the kids of your age. This is something which happens to us as well. For instance, suppose I'm doing something on the internet and then I go to some online news channel or do something else. So, and in this process, what happens is that probably, 2 hours are spent on this. These 2 hours are actually unproductive. I am not doing something serious, I'm just, going from one website to another, and I am not really learning something substantial. I am not really even, enjoying this thing, but it becomes a kind of habit. So my entire body and mind become enslaved to the internet. So that is the habit which needs to be outgrown. Then we come to the most important issue, that is, how to have a balance between work and leisure. Now, here I would like to talk about a few things thematically, and that's why I have given you this thematic, presentation. So, first of all, you need to think about your time. What is your time? Now, your time can be divided between the time for leisure and the time for work, right? So, you need to have a plan. Now, if you have just a mechanical plan, then that will ultimately make you lose interest in all of these things, right? So let it become part of the rhythmic activities in your day-to-day lives, the rhythms of your day-to-day lives, so that work and leisure are punctuated rhythmically, right? That is quite significant. So you need to think about your time, what I am going to do at this moment, what I am going to do after 1 hour, what I am going to do after, say, 2 hours of online class. Would I have a break for 30 minutes or 20 minutes? And then what should I do? Should I come back to studies or should I do something else? So that kind of planning is important. So how you program your own schedule, that's important. But please do remember that when we talk about time management, we need to think about two dimensions of time management or time in general. Number one, your time, and number two, the time of the others. For instance, let me give you two examples. The first example pertains to the time for work, right? So suppose you are supposed to submit an assignment today. Now, you don't submit it today. You submit it after 5 days. And then probably the time for grading has already come. So the teacher would be in a rush. The teacher will have to check your assignment within 2 days probably. Now there are two possibilities. If the teacher is checking your assignment within 2 days rather than within 7 days, then the teacher would not be able to evaluate it in the best possible way, because he also doesn't have that much time. I mean he or she, they don't have that much time. So there might be certain problem with the evaluation process, or it might be the case that the teacher will have to pay extra attention. The teacher will have to spend extra time. So the teacher will have to remain exposed to the computer screen for, say, 5 hours rather than 2 hours. So that is also going to create a lot of problems for the teacher. So when you are thinking about your time, try to think about others' time empathetically as well. That is very important, because the way I program my time would also have something to do with the ways in which other people would like to program their time. And there should be some kind of harmonious relationship between your schedule and the schedule the others around you are trying to follow, right? So that kind of negotiation and that kind of understanding of others' time is very important when we talk about time management. Then I come to the next example, that is the example related to your leisure time. Suppose you have some leisure time, the time of 1 hour after your online classes are ended, right, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now you want to go out, right? You want to go out, you want to have some snacks in some, at some eatery on the campus with your friend. Now, your friend is probably interested in doing something else, right? Now, it is a possibility. So here you are planning some kind of enjoyment for which you are dependent on your friend, right? So if your friend can't spend the same amount of time exactly during that period of time, then you are in trouble. So what should you do now? Now, that is why I'm saying that when you are thinking about managing your own time, you also need to think about the ways the others are planning things, right? Now, there might be two kinds of negotiation. Number one, number one, you can have a negotiation with your friend that, rather than spending 1 hour, let's spend 20 minutes, right? So after that, the friend can do some work of their own and you can do some work of your own. Or you can have some extended fun. This is one probability where you negotiate with the other person. There is also another possibility, that is the negotiation with yourself, right? Suppose you wanted to refresh your mind by going out with this friend and this friend is not available exactly during that period. So what should you do? Should you just, sit down and shed tears? No. You can devise other methods of entertaining and refreshing yourself. That is why I'm saying that time management is also ultimately a matter of self-management. How you make yourself happy, how you make yourself, I won't use the term disciplined, how you make yourself rhythmically oriented to the world that you inhabit. That is very important because the moment we talk about discipline, actually all of us, all of human beings have an inherent, kind of antipathy towards discipline, and that is why let's not think about discipline in this context. Let's think about a rhythmic orientation to our world, because that is something which has an aesthetic dimension, right? Rather than the typical disciplinarian dimension, which might become oppressive a lot of times. And that is why I am also talking about the necessity to punctuate your work with your leisure. And that is more important in the context of online education, because nowadays you will find that most often the leisure time and the time for work would not be so sharply distinguished, right? So probably there are 3 classes, and between two classes you have a break for 10 minutes, right? So what should you do now? It's very important to remember that we are all embodied human beings, right? No matter whatever emphasis we lay on our virtual sort of engagements, we are ultimately all embodied entities, and our bodies also require certain kinds of orientation, certain kinds of relief and relaxation. For instance, there are certain kinds of physical exercises which are very important to keep you safe from the dangers that might be entailed by by continuous exposure to the computer. For instance, I myself suffer from migraine and spondylitis, and I actually have to do certain exercises. The doctors have suggested that these exercises should be done in order to keep myself fit, especially in the context of online education. So this is something which is important for the students as well. In order to keep themselves healthy, they need to make sure that there is a proper orientation of their body and mind to the virtual world as well as to the real world. Then time and empathy, time for others. We also need to make sure that we always have some time for others, not just for ourselves. This is important because ultimately we are all social beings, and so we need to sometimes break our plans or change our plans in order to make sure that the people around us are able to get the help from us which they need. Your friends might be in need of some help from you. Your parents might require some kind of help. You need to engage with a friend who might be depressed. You might be required to engage with a family member who is depressed. So you need to have time for the others as well. And you need to have an empathetic understanding of their emotional requirements or their psychological requirements. Because nowadays, what often happens is that we don't get to understand that specific kind of emotional or psychological state in which our near and dear ones find themselves. And please do remember that we need to think about everyone around us, not just our friends, but also our family members. They are also most often in need of some kind of emotional help or psychological help. So you need to have some time for that as well. Then meditation. Now, meditation is a way of stilling your mind and it's a way of orienting yourself to the present moment. Why is that moment? Why is that kind of orientation important? Now, this is something which is interesting because most often we think that meditation is just about spirituality, about transcendental things. So it's something which is a matter of obfuscatory language, but it's not that. It's actually very simple. Now, if you wish to meditate on the divine, you can do that. If you want to meditate on yourself, you can do that. You can meditate on anything, or you can meditate on nothing. That you are just willing to free your mind of every form of thought. That is not very easy, but that might be a good way to refresh your mind, rather than thinking about any particular thing. So stilling the brain and suspending the past and the future for the time being would be very important ways of orienting yourself and grounding yourself in the present. That's very important, because if you are not in the present, your full concentration will not be there on whatever you do. Then we come to the issue of making plans. Of course, you should make plans because without a planned schedule, you would often find that you are in the midst of chaos, right? So the day would appear to be a chaotic day, that, I am doing something and then suddenly I find that what I did was meaningless, right? Or it didn't give me exactly the kind of happiness or satisfaction that I was seeking for. So what do I do then at that point of time? So and then you would feel that it's very frustrating to have a day spent completely chaotically, right? So plan is important, not just to discipline yourself, but to creatively reorient yourself to your day, to your time, and to the universe that you inhabit, to your work. In this context, let me just give you one example, which is very interesting, in fact. That is, when we think about Rabindranath Tagore, we often think about the fact that he was not willing to endorse the conventional educational system. He was completely against the idea that, students should be confined to four walls and there should be a mechanical process of educating students. The teaching learning process would be a matter of psychological oppression rather than psychological freedom. Now, that's interesting. But at the same time, we need to remember that Rabindranath Tagore used to have a very clearly planned schedule as far as his creative activities were concerned. So he would write every day, his creative works at a particular point of time, so that there is some kind of rhythm in your life. There is some kind of structure given to your apparently amorphous day-to-day experience or everydayness in general, right? So that kind of plan making is important because that draws out the most productive potential out of you. But at the same time, I would say that you should not enslave yourself to your plans. That, I have made this plan, so I have to do it by all possible means. That, even if the universe collapses, I should do this. I should study this book, by 5. I should finish studying this book by 5 o'clock. No, there are other factors as well. For instance, you might make plans, but there might be other issues around yourself. Your friends might require some kind of help from you. Your near and dear ones might require some kind of help from you. And this happens with me as well. For instance, sometimes I plan that I should finish writing this by say 4 o'clock, and then some important phone call comes, and I understand that the person who is calling me is really in need of some kind of emotional support. So I have to break my plan at that point of time. I can't be just selfish. So please do understand that the real requirement is not just to make a plan, but to be the master of your own time, to be the master of your time for work as well as the time for leisure. And that's why I gave you that example of going out with a friend. What will you do if that friend doesn't have time for you? I mean, should you cancel all possible forms of entertainment or enjoyment for the time being, or should you rather devise other ways to refresh your mind, right? So it's ultimately about expanding your value system, considering your own interests, but considering others' interests as well, without being selfish. And it's about being the master of your own time, the time for work and the time for leisure. Okay, so I will spend the time meant for my work in the way I wish, and also in the way I can utilize the time most effectively and most productively. So I have to have that in mind as well, right? So what is the efficacy of spending the time in a particular way? And that is also something which pertains to your time of leisure, right? So that's it. And as I said, ultimately it's about reorienting yourself, your existence in such a way that you can manage your own selfhood. It's not just about managing time, because time is out there and I am out there. It's not like that. Let me read out a very interesting quotation from one of the most fabulous writers of the 20th century, that is, Jorge Luis Borges. So, in an essay titled "A New Refutation of Time," Borges writes something very interesting, and I am quoting him. Time is the substance I am made of. Time is a river which sweeps me along, but I am the river. It is a tiger which destroys me, but I am the tiger. It is a fire which consumes me, but I am the fire. Unquote. Now, what this actually means is that there are two things. I am made of time because, ultimately I am never out of time, right? Every moment that I live is being lived within time, but at the same time, I can also reorient myself. I can have control over myself, and control over yourself is coterminous with control over your own time. So ultimately, time management is all about self-management, and it's about enhancing the possibilities of your career that lies ahead, but it's also about living your life and proceeding with your career in such a way that it gives you the possibility to flourish ontologically, to flourish and to actualize the potential that your selfhood has. Okay, so that's it. Now I would like to discuss things with you. If you have any query or any kind of thing, anything that you would like to add. Yeah. So Tanaya, are there some queries?
Yes, I'm muting it just. Yeah, Payal, go ahead.
Okay. So you were talking, sir, you were talking about this controlling yourself and controlling your time. Sir, my question is how to increase this control over yourself?
Yeah, now one of the mechanisms, as I said, is to meditate on yourself, to try to steal your mind, to try to forget the society for the time being, to be your own for the time being. It requires a lot of courage. It requires a lot of inner strength because, I can't easily forget the outside universe. But if you can forget the outside universe, the outside universe will not be able to crush you. You would rather place yourself at the center of the universe. And that is very important because ultimately, I am perceiving the universe in my own way, right? Why should I be enslaved to the expectations that the society might have of me, right? I would live to sort of, actualize my own potential and my own expectations. But that doesn't mean that I should be selfish. So it is different from being selfish. I should think about the others. I should help them out the moment they are in need of some help. But that doesn't mean that I will sort of let myself be enslaved to external factors. So that inner freedom is very important. And inculcating that freedom is very important.
Then there should be always a balance between my time and others' time, right?
Yeah, there should be a balance, but this is something which we can make possible by rationally engaging with the others. Because I am a rational being and I want to spend my time in certain ways. The others are also doing the same thing, right? So that kind of empathetic understanding of what the others require is important.
Okay. Sir, and the other thing is that you were talking about empathetic understanding of others' time and to give some time to others.
Yeah.
So then how to understand that whether I am compromising my time or I am being selflessly giving time? I mean, how to differentiate between these two things?
Now, see, when the others are in need of help. Now, of course, I mean, we are not, superhumans. It's not the case that we can help everyone out, but we can maximize the possibility of helping the others in times of stress or in times of distress, right? So, when we are trying to do that, at that moment, I have to compromise with my own time or even with the sense of my own freedom, right? Because at that particular moment, the others are more important than myself if they're really in need of some help. Okay, so that balance is required. Okay, that I am going to actualize the potential of my selfhood, but at the same time, I am not going to be selfish.
Is it being selfish or is it self-care? I mean, we have only 24 hours for ourselves, but if we think that we cannot give time to others and I have to utilize my time, then is it really selfish or is it really self-care?
Self-care can become selfish if you don't think about the others in the process of maximizing the potential or actualizing the potential of yourself, right? So there is actually a very thin line between self-care and being selfish, and that's what we can all intuitively understand. For instance, if you really care for someone, some near and dear ones, then at the moment of the crisis that they are facing, you won't be able to insist on self-care. Spontaneously you would rush to help them out, right? That's what all of us do, and that's what all of us should do as social beings.
Okay. Thank you.
And as I said, it's difficult, but ultimately, we are all taking up a lot of challenges. So why not this challenge as well?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So Tanaya, do you have any other question?
Um, if you guys have any other questions, you can raise your hand and I
Yeah,
can
if
answer you.
you, yeah, yeah. If you have any other question or anything that you would like to share, because see, here these I see that there are I think around 46 people, 46 or 47 people. So all these people have different kinds of experience, and that's why I said that when we talk about these things, you will find that 46 people would plan their schedules and plan their everyday time in 46 different ways, and that's where human creativity lies. But yes, as far as online education is concerned, we need to take some extra care, regarding our exposure to the internet, and that's why I think it would be a good idea to try to devise ways of having entertainment or enjoyment outside the virtual world. Because if you can do that, then apart from the absolutely required duration of your exposure to the computer screen or smartphone screen, you won't be confined to the virtual world. Is there any other question, or I think people are tired after this exam, right? The exam was going on.
Yeah, some of them had it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they are all tired. Okay. So at this moment, it's not really required to have a session on time management, but rather it's necessary to have some rest, right? Yeah.
You haven't talked about sleep cycle.
Sleep cycle, because it depends. I mean, if I get into that, I personally don't want to do that, because being a humanities scholar, I don't think that we should talk about these things within a theoretical framework. As I said, 46 people would have 46 kinds of sleep cycle, and if there is some serious medical issue, health issue related to sleep, then of course I can't be the best person to talk about that or deal with that. Some doctor has to be consulted. But yes, sleep cycle is also related to these things, cleaning your mind of unnecessary burden, orienting yourself to the present, because ultimately when we sleep and when we have a really sound sleep, what happens is that everything from our past and future actually gets deleted from our memory, right? So that is very important. And it's said that if people can have a habit of meditating, then probably the more you meditate on a still mind, the more you meditate in such a way that you can still your mind and you can clear your mind of all thoughts, the less you would require sleep, the less sleep you would require.
So how much time is required to meditate on daily basis?
Now, see, that is difficult to say, but I would say that at first, I think maximum 20 to 25 minutes can be spent on that. Because, at the beginning, if you try to meditate more, there would be a kind of, negative effect. So probably a lot of thoughts would cloud your mind, and your mind will become restless rather than, becoming stilled, right? So that's why, while talking about meditation, we often refer to the Samudra Mantana story, the churning of the ocean. So you churn the ocean of your mind, and suddenly, a lot of poison comes out, right? So what do you do with that? So at first, it's better to keep it, at 25 minutes or something like that. But gradually, if you say, if you sit for meditating for 20 minutes every day, then after a certain period, you will find that your mind is getting calm during that time. So suppose I am sitting for meditation at 7 o'clock today, and I'm doing this tomorrow as well. So throughout the fast week, there is no improvement as far as my psychological state is concerned. My mind is not getting still. I am still, in a lot of anxiety or pressure. But after 7 days, after 8 days, or after 14 days, probably your mind will start to be controlled through this process of meditation.
Hmm. ठीक है.
Okay, so Tanaya, I think there is no other question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so should let the
So,
students
yeah.
have
Yes,
some
next
real
question.
entertainment now. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and what about, most of the people here, Tanaya, are they on campus, or are most of them not on the campus?
So we have a mix of students. Some of them are first years and second years.
First
So
students are
the
not
first years are
on the
not on
campus,
campus.
I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But on the campus, I mean, you are able to do certain things which the people who are outside the campus won't be able to do. For instance, you can have some fun with your with your fellow students, with your friends. You can have some certain nice forms of entertainment in your halls, or you can just go to tech market, tick or whatever. That opportunity is being missed by the students who are outside, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I mean they can connect through virtual mode, but yeah, not in
Yeah,
class.
yeah, they can connect only through the virtual mode. Yeah, that's a pity. Okay, so that's it, I guess. And now I try to avoid rehashing things which are ubiquitously present on the internet. For instance, if you go to the websites of major Western universities, you will find that they are coming up with a lot of suggestions for the students and teachers, especially in the context of the pandemic. How to sort of keep yourself healthy, how to keep your eyes healthy, how to minimize your exposure to the computer screen, etc. So you can also check these things, but ultimately, it always depends on your own orientation to your what, to your leisure, and also to the universe at large that you inhabit.
Yes. So I guess I would like to like thank Anway sir for accepting our invitation and being here with us today and sharing the insights. I'm sure everyone here is inspired by your guidance now. And I will also like to thank each and every one of you from the audience here for being here and listening to the session. And I hope the session would have helped you gain insights and manage your schedule. And I hope you guys would work on managing your time and schedule accordingly, according to sir's guidance after this. So, yeah, thanks a lot, sir, and thank you to the audience as well. So we can call it a day.
Thank you, Tanaya. Thank you, all of you, and I wish you all the best for your life and career in general. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Night.